I love that song. We say we're going to make room for God to do whatever he wants to because his way is better. His way is better. Some of us believe that God's way is always better. Maybe not by our definition of better, but from his infinite perspective. Others of us, we aren't sure God's way is better. We might not even be sure that there is a God or that he has a way, but we're here because we're curious or hopeful. Regardless of what we believe or where we are, whether we're doing church with PCC at Powhatan or Midlothian or Riverside or Farmville or Alet, whether you're doing church in your car or at home or at the Nottoway Correctional Center, most of us, maybe all of us, are looking for better ways to live as better people. So that's what we're talking about as we begin a new year, a better way. And today we're talking about time. There has got to be a better way than finishing our days and weeks wondering where all the time went and lamenting that there just wasn't enough time. And I get it. I get what it's like to live in our world where there are demands on our time all of the time. It starts first thing in the morning, at least for me it does. And I know some of you are morning people and you are up before the world is and you are ready for the day. But I'm not. My days begin with the dogs barking for breakfast and waking up sleepy middle and high schoolers. And we all kind of move in my household from dazed zombies to frantic squirrels, like darting all over the place once we actually wake up. And there's so much noise in these mornings. Like, no, I forgot to charge my Chromebook. And get out of the bathroom. I need to brush my teeth. Mom, sign this form. It's due today. Or it was due yesterday. And I might contribute some noise of my own at times, like it is 20 degrees outside. Why are you in shorts? Or why are you wearing shoes with holes in them when it's this cold? We gotta go. And all the while that we are making this noise, my phone is dinging with notifications. Coworkers who apparently need something from me at 7 a.m. Can't they just wait for an hour or two? And you know, one of the culprits is our senior pastor, Brian Hughes. He can get up and work at 4 or 5 a.m. if he wants to. I don't need to hear from him until a more godly hour like 8 a.m. I don't think that's too much to ask. Now, maybe you're not like me. Maybe you've got that whole morning routine figured out. You're up and at 'em. Your whole family has nice sit-down breakfast. You start your days with sweet interactions with your children, and everything is prepped for the day. But even if that is you, I wonder, are there moments, at some point, do you get overtaken by all the requests and the demands from others? Do you rush from one thing or one to-do list or one text or email or phone call to the next? At some point, do you feel like you just can't stay on top of it all? It's like playing hide and seek. Do you remember doing that as a kid? You're hiding and you can hear it counting. 1, 2, 3, and then 8, 9, 10. Ready or not, here I come. And you're not ready. You didn't have a plan of where you were going to hide. And you ran around frantically trying to find a spot. You were colliding with others. You were competing for the best spot. You searched and you tried, and then you get caught out in the open, not ready. That is not a fun feeling when you are a kid playing hide and seek. And it's not a fun feeling when you're a teenager or adult living your life. Monday morning rolls around and the world is saying, ready or not, and you're caught. No plan, just panic. And you're not ready, that is. There is a better way. It doesn't have to be like this. There is a way to be ready, not to hide in a game, but to thrive in life. Ready to enjoy the gift of time that God has given us and to actually see it as a gift to be relished, not a burden to be endured. Ready to utilize time in a way that honors God and who he made you to be. The first step in being ready is that we have to be realistic. We are only human. There are limits to what we can do and who we can be. No matter how well we manage our time, we will never be able to do it all or be it all. Why? because God is God and we're not. God says of himself, "Am I a God who is only close at hand, says the Lord? No, I am far away at the same time. Can anyone hide from me in a secret place? Am I not everywhere in all the heavens and earth, says the Lord?" God is everywhere in all the heavens and the earth. He is both close at hand and far away at the same time. If you and I could be in more than one place at the same time, this whole conversation would be different. But we can't because we're human. We can only be in one place at a time. So we have to be realistic in our expectations. We just can't do it all. I can't do it all. Why don't we say all of that together, wherever you are right now? I can't do it all. You know, we know that, we all know that, but we don't always live like that, do we? Now, even though I know better, sometimes I act like if I just work hard enough and plan carefully enough and think clearly enough, I can figure it out. I can do all the things. Like, I remember this one Saturday a few years ago, there was a lot going on, but I'd figured it out. I was gonna start the day taking care of myself with a trip to the gym, and then taking care of the family. I was gonna do the weekly shopping. Then I was gonna get cleaned up and go to the ball field for my son's game. And then I was gonna get dressed up and come to church for a wedding. And then I was gonna change into work clothes and help out with a community service project. With 4 wardrobe changes in 5 locations over 10 hours, I was gonna do it all. I was gonna be me and wife and mom and church person and good person. And as I sat at the ball field that day, halfway through my carefully made plan, I scrolled through my phone and I saw picture after picture of my friends with the beautiful bride at the wedding that I missed. I got the time wrong. The ball game and the wedding were at the same time. I couldn't be in both places at once. I was never going to be able to do it all. It was impossible all along. See, God can be close and far away at the same time, but I can't, and neither can you. We can only be in one place at a time. So we have to be realistic in how much in the scope of what we try to do. And it sounds counterintuitive, but the more realistic we are about what we can do, the more effective we will be. Research has shown that when we try to do everything, we end up being effective at nothing. But if we'll edit the list, then we'll actually succeed in a few things. I'll confess to you, all of this has been hard for me to learn. I'm a list maker. Every weekend, I make a list of what our family needs to get done. My husband and kids just love this part of me. See, by the time they get up on a Saturday morning, there is a list on the dining room table of what's going to get done with initials of who's going to do what. They hate that list. They would really hate the first draft that they never see, because there's always more that I want us to get done than we actually have time to do. So I have to edit the list. Now, maybe you're better. Maybe you can figure out how to get all the shopping and cleaning and exercising and birthday partying and family gathering, and resting. Maybe you can figure out how to get all of that done on the weekend. But I can't. So I have to choose. And the same thing happens in my professional life. There's an almost limitless list of things I could do in my full-time role here, and they're all good things, but I can't do them all, so I have to make choices. You do too, in whatever your roles are, and we'll set ourselves up to fail if we try to do it all. So we have to be realistic, and that goes with the second thing. To be ready, we also must be selective. If we're going to be realistic about what we can do, then we also have to be selective. We have to make choices about what makes the cut, what we're going to do. We want to carefully select the things because we can't do it all, and it's not all worth doing. A follower of Jesus named Paul said it like this. He's addressing a common saying, people saying, I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. Not everything is constructive or beneficial. And when we spend too much of our time on those things that aren't beneficial and constructive, that's when we end up feeling exhausted and like there's never enough time. But when we make strategic choices and only put things on our calendars and lists that are beneficial and constructive, then we can feel energized, we can feel ready. But we have to change the way that we think. See, it's not about how many things we check off of our list. It's about putting the right things on the list. I'm going to repeat that mostly for myself. It's not about how many things we check off our list, but about putting the right things on the list. Specifically, the 20% of things that are most beneficial and constructive versus the 80% of stuff we do that, doesn't really move anything forward. Since the 1800s, people have been talking about this 80-20 rule. It all started with an Italian gardener named Vilfredo Pareto, and he noticed that only 20% of his pea pods were producing 80% of the crop. And since that moment, the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, has been applied to nearly every facet of life. Like, did you know 80% of a company's sales come from 20% of its customers? And 80% of complaints come from 20% of customers. Did you know 20% of motorists cause 80% of traffic accidents? You wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. You use 20% of the apps on your phone 80% of the time. We could go on and on. You get the picture. So chances are about 20% of what you do with your time is really effective. So try to identify what those things are so you can do them more often. Now, there's always kind of some stuff in the middle, like it just has to get done. It's not that beneficial. So, you're never going to spend 100% of your time doing things that are as beneficial and constructive as possible. But we can do better than 20%, I think. So I learned one exercise about this while I was on my sabbatical last year. I read about it in a book. You get a piece of paper and you make 2 columns. On the left side, you list all of the things that you do on some sort of regular basis. So let's say that you post on social media. Maybe you have a podcast. Oh, you look forward to going to that national conference every year. Maybe you're part of a local network. Oh, you spend one-on-one time with clients. You go to meetings, lead meetings. You spend time with your coworkers. You get the idea. You make the list of all the things that you do on a regular basis on the left. And then on the right, you list your 3 to 5 greatest achievements. I'm going to confess, I'll tell you up front, when I did this, that was the hard part. Coming up with the list of all the things that you do, that was easy. But your 3 to 5 greatest achievements, and by achievement, we're not necessarily looking for like when you got an award or a big bonus. It could be one of those things. But it could also be like, when have you most been the person God designed and called you to be? When have you had that feeling like, I was made to do this? This is me and my sweet spot. Another way to think about it is, what are the things you've accomplished that have had the biggest impact? Maybe in terms of recognition and reward, maybe not. But maybe in terms of like who you want to be. So you write those things on the right. For examples, let's say maybe you got to present in front of your peers, or maybe you got published. Maybe your team, like you met your goal and you exceeded it by 15%. Whatever it is, you make a list of your 3 to 5 top. Now, you look at all these tasks that you do on a regular basis and you draw lines. Which of these things mostly led to the success over here? So what did you present or publish? That idea came from brainstorming with your coworkers. And what really led, of all the things, that probably all contributed some, what really led to meeting that goal and surpassing it by so much? It was all those new clients you got on social media. And really, it was the camaraderie. I mean, the coworkers, they're such a good team feeling. They just really work together. You get the idea. As you draw lines, a few things over here are going to emerge as the things that really made the most difference. Now, it might not be exactly 20%, but it'll be a few things. And then you'll also look back at this list and notice some things don't have a line drawn to them. And maybe they're things that you need to stop doing or do less often. Maybe they're just not as effective for who and where you are right now at this point in time. So like with our example, if this were your chart, you might say, you know what? I'm gonna spend more time with coworkers. I'm gonna invest there. That might mean less time with my local network, or maybe even in that national conference, because that takes a lot of resources. Or maybe instead of whining and dining clients one-on-one, again, lots of time and money, if social media is where I got the new clients, maybe I'm gonna invest more time and money there. So that's just an example. Your list is your list, but I found this helpful. I hope somebody else out there will find it helpful as well in being selective about what you choose to do with your time. Because if we're gonna be ready, we have to be realistic and we have to be selective, and there's a third thing. To be ready, we have to create rhythms. And we learn about that from the master creator himself. The very first words of the Bible say, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters." Formless and empty, dark and deep. That's how things were in the beginning. I won't ask for a show of hands, but I suspect there are some here who, well, when you think about time, it feels like you're looking out over the surface of the dark deep. Your calendar is empty. Your week formless. And maybe it's because it's just overwhelming to think about how to fit all the things in, so you just don't even try, or it's not how your brain works. Or maybe it's because you're in a season where your calendar really is empty. While some people are running around trying to do too many things in too little time, you have so much time and so few things to do. And it feels dark and deep. Secretly, you'd give anything for a little of that running around that others are doing. It would make you feel alive and needed, like you had purpose. So maybe you're in a life stage that has forced you to slow down. You could be a caretaker. An illness may have sidelined you, or an injury for a little while, and the days and the nights, they just stretch on, formless and dark and deep. Maybe you're retired, and it feels like there's still a long timeline ahead of you with nothing to do. No promotions to pursue, no kids to care for, no task to tackle. Regardless of why you see your time as formless and empty, there's a better way. See, God took all of that shapeless nothingness before him, and he created a beautiful, abundant, diverse planet. You can follow that example and create something beautiful too. Let's look at more of how God created. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. God creates light and separates it from the darkness. And he calls the light day and the darkness night. And so the rhythm begins. There was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Now today in our culture, we think of days as starting with the morning. So we might say today, there was morning and there was evening. But that's really just a matter of culture. The point is this rhythm is created. There is day and night, or night and day, and that defines how we live within time. See, God looked out over the expanse and he created structures that brought forth beauty and abundance. You can create a vibrant life by creating rhythms and structures where there's nothing. So look at the vast expanse of a calendar, divided into sections like work and family and exercise. Hey, select sections that are beneficial and constructive. And then create space for those sections once a day or week or month or year, and then the next, and then the next, until it becomes a rhythm that defines your life. Now, the key is to creating rhythms that are beneficial and constructive. As humanity, we have created structures in the form of time zones in different parts of the world, and we've created the highly contested rhythm of daylight savings time. I know there are strong opinions on this one. There's even proposed legislation about it. So we're going to take a vote. This is where you're going to raise your hands, all right? I want to know what you think. Who thinks the rhythm of daylight savings time is good and should stay? Oh, I'm not sure I can see anybody from up here. All right, who thinks it needs to go away? Okay, now I can see a lot of hands. All right, now I'll just be honest. This is not something I feel very strongly about, and I really don't think much about time zones because I kind of just stay here most of the time. But there was a period of time last year I felt very strongly about both. I've shared before that my family traveled out to Nevada and Arizona last spring during my sabbatical. And one of the places I was most excited to visit was Antelope Canyon. What I haven't told you about that yet was how that part of our trip almost didn't happen. See, reservations are extremely hard to book because only a few companies offer access to that canyon and the demand is high. So my husband and I sat side by side with dueling laptops trying to snag reservations, and they kept evading us. Once or twice, we thought we'd booked it, only to get a text a minute later that said, sorry, that trip is full. Finally, I found a smaller, lesser-known company that had availability, so I booked it. And we went on our trip, and we got to the town of Page, Arizona. We checked into the hotel. I went to the business center that night and printed a backup set of tickets just in case. I made sure everything was right. I reread their website. I reread the note about what time zone they were in and that they do not observe daylight savings time. I read the notes. I checked the clocks. We were good. We got up the next morning and headed out in plenty of time to get there. And then, less than a mile from the tour company, all of the clocks changed. Our phones, our fitness watches, they all moved ahead an hour. We had missed our reservation, the only reservation that we could get. So my husband and I looked at each other. We didn't say anything to the kids. We didn't want to panic them yet. He flew into the company, and maybe before the car came to a full and complete stop, I was out of it, running up to the check-in desk, begging and pleading them to let us go on the tour. The man at the check-in desk was laughing at me and said, hey, you're good. You're almost an hour early. You know that time switch you just went through? It messes everybody up, so we don't observe that. Okay. All right, I had tried so hard, and I'll be honest, I'm still not quite sure what I didn't understand, but I'm blaming the whole thing on time zones and daylight savings time. Rhythm structures that we humans have created with our time that may or may not be working so well for us. But there's another rhythm of our time that God created that works great for us. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. God created a rhythm of work and rest, working 6 days and resting on the seventh. And later, in a section of the Bible called the Ten Commandments, that rhythm is set as an expectation for how all of us are to live our lives. This is key to living in a better way. We must rest. We can't work every day and be healthy or effective. And even within each day, we need a balance of work and rest. Recent research supports this rhythm that God created at the beginning of time. Travis Bradberry is the author of the Wall Street Journal bestsellers about emotional intelligence. And he and his team confirmed that people who took regular breaks were wildly more productive than those who kept their butts in their seats for hours on end. In fact, they measured the time. And they discovered that the ideal rhythm was 52 minutes of work to 17 minutes of rest. People could focus 100% on their work without getting distracted for 52 minutes. And then they took 17-minute breaks. They walked around, used the restroom, got a snack, chatted with coworkers, checked their phones, responded to text and social media. And then they would go back to their seats and work with complete concentration. No personal use of phones, no snacks, no bathroom trips, no side conversations for another 52 minutes. Now, we can't all just get up every 52 minutes. Students, I don't recommend doing that in the middle of class, and most of us can't just stand up in the middle of a meeting. But many of us, I know I could, use my time better if I were completely focused for almost an hour and then on break for just a few minutes. So I hope you'll find some ways that you can experiment with that this week without getting fired or sent to detention. Because what we're trying to do right now, we try to merge working and being distracted all at the same time. It's not really working for us. It leaves us in a haze where we feel like time got away from us, we never really rest, and we're not all that productive. We're not ready. But there is a better way. And the truth is, we know it. Do you remember? Of all the negative that came from the pandemic, and there was plenty, most notably, the deaths of some people that I love and that you love. But when we were in the middle of that, do you remember, us collectively as a society, saying that we wouldn't go back to the way things used to be? That the hustle and bustle, the racing around, the filling every second of every day with stuff, exhausting ourselves and not really accomplishing the things that we wanted, that we wouldn't go back to that we would do it better next time? Well, I do. I remember that. And we're in next time now. I remember my kids who aren't kids anymore. And of all the things that they hated about that time, they loved some of the rhythms. Particularly their favorites were the slow family dinners every night, followed by 2-on-2 basketball in the driveway every night. They loved that rhythm, and they miss it. We were able to live into it because our scope of activity was more realistic. And we said that we would remember the better way that we had discovered, and I do remember, but I don't live it. What about you? Do you remember from that time period or another one when you got glimpses of a better way? Or can you imagine it? A realistic amount to do. A carefully curated calendar of selected things that really matter. Rhythms that define and structure your life into an enjoyable movement. Let's take a few minutes as we end our service to reflect and commit to finding a better way. Don't rush out of here yet. Don't be in a hurry. Rest in God's presence and listen to the words of this last song.
Lord, I don't want to rush on ahead in my own strength when you're right here. Lord, I don't want to rush on ahead in my own strength when you're right here. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just to rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking. love like you. I wanna feel what you feel. I wanna see what you see. Lord, I want to love like you. I want to feel what you feel. I want to see what you see. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just to rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just to rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking. Lord, open my eyes, I wanna see you. Open my ears, I wanna hear you speak. Tell me your thoughts, what's on your mind. I'll be your friend. I wanna see through your eyes. I wanna see through your eyes. In a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just to rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking. I'm not in a hurry when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to your presence, when it comes to your voice. I'm learning to listen, just to rest in your nearness. I'm starting to notice you are speaking.
This week, guys, let's just not be in a hurry quite so much. Make time and space to listen to
This
God
week,
so that we
let's
can
not
be
be
ready.
in a hurry quite so much. Let's make time and space to listen to God so that we can be ready to live the lives that He wants for us. Let's be realistic and selective in what we seek to accomplish. Let's create rhythms that structure our lives in healthy, helpful ways. Now, we're here to help as we all seek to find a better way to live this year. So don't miss next week as we continue in this series. We'll see you then.